I'm Jason, I make comics, and I am on a mission. Join me on my continuing journey of leveling up. Welcome, readers, makers, and fans. I'm Jason Lapidus, co-creator of Group of Seven and Peregrines. In this episode, I'm taking a look at Batman and Robin Year One by Mark Waid and Chris Samnee to see what I can learn to help me get closer to mastering the craft. Keep in mind, as usual, this is not intended to be an exhaustive examination of the text or its history, but a brief look at a few of the elements from this comic that I can learn from, and maybe you can too. And don't miss the time-lapse drawing session at the end. Since 2017, I've been making comics with my good buddy, writer Chris Sanigan. Group of Seven, A Most Secret Tale, and Peregrines, Flights, Fiends, and Fisticuffs, available now at our website, groupofsevencomics.ca. These books are available in both print and digital formats, and we greatly appreciate your support. There's a school of thought in cartooning that the focus of one's work should be to deliberately guide the direction and pace of the readers across the comic book page to experience the emotional connection to the characters and story. When a cartoonist or writer and artist team is successful at controlling direction and pace of the reader, they have achieved mastery over space and time within the confines of the art form. Writer Mark Waid and artist Chris Samnee are able to get me dazzled by the motion and action, feel suspense as their heroes are in danger, sympathize with their frustrations, and laugh out loud as the real dynamic duo of this series sets me up for a punchline. The story flows from one panel to the next, from page to page, without stopping to linger on the extraneous detail on some background gargoyle or digital lens flare. Before long, I forget that a team of creators made this comic. It just becomes a story to be experienced. One of the things that I love about this series is that it is pulling from multiple points of reference in the nearly 90 years of publishing and broadcasting of Batman material. So not only are we getting references, obviously, to the comic books, we're getting a format similar to Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's Batman Year One, but this is also clearly a love letter to various moments in pop culture, starting with, on the cover, Batman 66, that Adam West and Burt Ward television show that was so massively influential on a generation of kids and comic book fans, in that was kind of the most real Batman we had ever experienced. So what you get with this cover, for the first time that I can the first time that I can imagine, or the first time that I'm aware of, is a comic book artist recreating the Rogues Gallery from the opening sequence of the Batman show from 1966. There were a few villains who, were recognizable in that opening, like the Joker, Penguin, and a version of Catwoman. And here, Samnee has recreated them almost in the order that they arrive, as they pan across the screen in very, very rudimentary animation. But those characters are so beautifully created for that opening sequence that they are seared into the minds of many of the people that watch that are seared into the minds of the viewers of that show. So Batman and Robin are tangling with those characters. And right away, to me, that was, trumpet call across the valley that, hey guys, we love all kinds of Batman. This is dark and brooding in its art style. It feels like it's, almost stepping out of the animated series in a way, in some of the design choices. But at the same time, no, we're not throwing away Batman 66. We are embracing it fully. This is a beautiful idea, and I love it. Even though the trees are in the foreground, like choosing to do them in black puts the eyes on the manor, controlling where our eye goes. And again, while these characters are the active ones in the scene, our attention is actually supposed to be here. So again, Samnee and colorist Lapidus bring our eyes right here. And like, we can see that he's struggling. How do you show a person struggling? Well, you show their crumpled up paper. It's not coming easy to him. That's great. You know, Bruce in shadow. He's in part shadow, where Dick is in the light and in the light. And they never have to say, hey, look, there's the bat signal. He shows it by having a much more dynamic use of foreshortening, right? Like that hand is way forward, that one's in the back. And he's signaling, right? He's saying, hey, there it is. Paper's moving. And it's not just moving, it's moving in the direction of leaving the page. Cool use of Batman's eyes into the headlights of the car while we get some exposition from Batman. And we're referencing with the hand script, Batman Year One, we're getting Bruce Wayne's hand script as he narrates. Color palette is a little bit similar too. This is the graphic novel trade paperback and hardcover version, not the single issue format on newsprint version. Like Batman #1 from Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez, we're getting the double page splash to introduce it as like a widescreen moment. Let's see how many splash pages are in this. I know in the other issue by Jorge Jimenez with his art, we get a splash of Batman standing on that, precipice from the Arkham Towers. And then we get 2 double page splashes in a row after that. Interesting look at Gotham City. Nothing stands out about it except for their layers. There are bridge highways, and looks like there are sort of tiers to this city, and Batman coming in from on high. The Batmobile seems reminiscent of a few different ones, but that curved back with the rocket thruster reminds me very much of Batman 89. Just that part of the car. Note, of course, co-plot by both the writer and artist. So they've obviously were in discussion and talked about what kind of story they wanted to work on and worked out the plot together. Mark Waid gets credits for writing. Chris Samnee gets credit as artist, which means he is doing pencils and inks in addition to co-plotting. He probably makes pretty elaborate color notes, maybe. I don't know. I don't have any insight into that. And Mateus Lopez on colors with a subdued, less saturated color palette, really focused on things like warms and cools. And it really helps direct the eye. Helps them continue to play on that theme of time and space. And even without reading the script, you can see he's having fun, he wants to fight, and he gives him a stern look, and okay, shucks darn. And there's obviously, this story is going to be a lot about growing pains. A nice cool palette here too. And as the scene's going to change, we get that warm palette bringing our eyes here. Just noting a little bit of the design on this page. We obviously have Robin here, but we have the directional devices, things that lead us to the next panel. Not only is he pointing and this line of the bat signal direct us here, we then get a face of Gordon. We go in here and his body guides us back down to Robin on the move. And even if we don't go look at Batman, we kind of get all we need as we come here, read this, read him, read this, and move on to the next. But of course, we do see Batman there. But our eye doesn't stay there. And then he points us to the next panel as we go. And Robin is upside down saying, go down. So we get Batman. Really fun. I love the directional devices. I love the idea of, putting 2 characters, framing Commissioner Gordon right behind. It keeps our eye focused exactly where it needs to be. And then giving that amount of space around Robin without any other buildings. Yeah, there probably are buildings right there, in the background if you wanted to draw them that way. But having it being this open space, really, even with a tiny panel like this, gives the impression to the reader that Robin just jumped into the air, the wide open, and then off they go. A good use of perspective, just having those buildings all kind of going backwards as directional devices too. Nothing too elaborate on the night sky. Like, the details on the buildings are not so elaborate that we focus on them. Most of the lines are kind of directing us up toward the main characters, so our eye is being guided. And that's another time that they're like masters of space. And by the mastery of space here and the composition, it's focusing where we spend our time. As things are beginning to go from sort of, a non-action part of the book into the action part of the book, these are not right angles anymore. It's now a little askew. Maybe a little nod to Batman 66 and those Dutch angles. Maybe it's just good because it unsettles the reader. Let's actually take a look at this one. Need to think about contrast too, right? Contrast of line. So straight lines versus curved lines will help make Batman and Robin stand out against the straight lines of the architecture behind them. Their shapes are different than the shapes behind them. The line weight on the figures is different than the line weight behind them. So contrast of line, of shape, and of course, the black. And there's very little on the figures other than, Batman's dark section of his costume. It's fun how he draws Robin's mask like, again, from Batman 66. So, looking at Robin's costume for a minute, this is an unabashed love letter to 40s, 50s, 60s version of Robin's costume. He's not doing the things that I would have done. Adding an Under Armour, adding something along the legs and arms, knee pads, elbow pads, modernizing it a bit while keeping, it truthful to its original spirit. He's not. He's just they're just saying, we're doing the old costume. We're not setting it in the 1940s. We're just doing the old costume, and we're going to enjoy it. And it looks great. I love in this series Samnee's explosions. I find them to be very organic and not overly rendered. That allows us to not spend our time looking at things we're supposed to be moving through. One of the joys of reading all 11 issues that I've read so far, as we're on our way to the 12th, is that it is a fast read. As I'm reading this series, I'm not getting stuck on detail. I'm flowing through at the speed at which the action is allowing me to. It's a relatively quick and smooth read, so much so that while I read it, I'm not thinking about the art or the writing. I'm just enjoying the story and the characters. Through the choices of Samnee and Mark Waid, I am not noticing their choices on first read. I'm just racing through the story, again, at the pace in which it was intended, and enjoying every minute of it. Comics can be a very fast read, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Choosing to draw more and more and more can often slow down the reading experience because we're looking at more and more and more and more. But in a quick examination, Batman and Robin both take one quick action and a second quick action, and they're on the move. And we get out of these pages or out of these situations really quite quickly. In terms of reader time, there's so much work being put into composing these pages so that they read smoothly. We're not getting bogged down trying to understand it or decode it. It's a nearly seamless process. And for the first time in what feels like forever, we're getting jokes in a Batman book. So they've just escaped a death trap. Robin says, yeah, they were bluffing. Batman pauses. He says, right? And then the building explodes. But there's like a timed out joke here, and it reads great. And we get an introduction to a new character we don't know, named Mr. Grimaldi, and a dramatic ending. And then some another promotional piece inserted into the comic that is not part of the story. Each issue in the series has that experience where it is a satisfying single issue read that makes you want to read the larger and longer narrative. Now, we're talking about two veterans in this when it comes to Waid and Samnee. Waid has been writing comics for what feels like 30 years, maybe more. I've noticed that a lot of the Mark Waid comics that I really enjoy seem to be pairings with him with Chris Samnee. Daredevil, Man Without Fear, Waid and Samnee. Black Widow, Waid and Samnee. I also have a Captain America somewhere that I did not find. Batman and Robin Year One feels like it owes a debt to the golden age comics of the 40s and 50s, the 1960s live action show, Alex Toth's work from the 50s and 60s and 70s, Miller and Mazzucchelli's Batman Year One in the mid 80s, Bruce Timm's work on Batman animated series in the 90s, Darwin Cook's Batman and Robin in Justice League New Frontier in the 2000s. So, how do you successfully make a fresh and long lasting update on a pop culture icon amid an ever changing landscape of rebrands and reboots? That's easy. You don't. You go the other way. You lean on the elements of Batman that are timeless, using sound principles of cartooning that are fundamental to the form, both classic and of the moment simultaneously. Batman and Robin Year One feels like it has existed for decades, but it needed almost each of the past 86 years to be possible for today. It needed masters of space and time. So, what did you think of the first 11 issues of Batman and Robin Year One? Did you find that there were things that you could take away from this series that would help improve your cartooning or your storytelling? If you'd like to see more like this kind of content, please click like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and throw a comment in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time on Leveling Up.